It's time for the Deacon's Den. It's time for the one, the only Deacon Dan Brahier. Good morning, Deacon Dan.
Good morning.
I know we go ahead.
We like to untangle the mystery of a deacon's life, right? And you gave us some great insights last week, especially in you really I never knew about the connection with the precious blood, with the chalice, and so you talked about how assisting at Mass for a deacon is symbolic of his role as a servant, but I'll bet there's a lot more symbolism that goes on, right?
There is a lot. There's so much that goes on at Mass that I think goes over the head of most people at Mass, not because they're ignorant of it, but they're just not aware of it. Maybe never heard of it before. So I thought I'd take a kind of another angle here to look at not just what the deacon does at Mass, but also if you think about the things that he says at Mass, what our spoken parts are, and kind of what do we say and why do we say it. So to make sense of this, you have to remember that the deacon is in a unique position in as much as it's been said that we have one foot in the church and one foot in the world. So as deacons, we are not kind of full-time clergy like a priest is. We are clergy members. We are ordained clergy members, but we also have our day jobs, if you will. So about 95% of deacons in the country are married. So we're husbands. We often are fathers, grandfathers, and we have day jobs to earn income for the family. We're homeowners. And so our loyalties, in a way, are kind of split. On one hand, we're serving our family, but on the other hand, we're serving the church. So we have one foot in each world. That always hits me between the eyes on a Wednesday, because Wednesday is kind of my ministry day, and I'll be at my parish today from probably noon until after 10 o'clock tonight with appointments and assisting and preaching at Mass and night of worship and OCIA and all the stuff we do in the parish, and yet the majority of my time is spent with my family. So it makes sense that at Mass we are going to speak on behalf of the congregation that's gathered for the liturgy, where that other foot is in the world. So an example of that is in the opening rite. So we always lead the penitential rite. So one of the first things usually that the deacon says at Mass is, on behalf of all the people gathered there, we're going to say, "You are sent to heal the contrite. Lord, have mercy. You came to call sinners. You are seated at the right hand of the Father to intercede for us. Lord, have mercy." Each time we're asking for mercy. So what we're doing there is we are speaking on behalf of the people, and we're acknowledging our sinfulness, and we are asking for God's mercy on all of us, the deacon and those who are in the pews. And then that theme continues later in the Mass. So after the deacon reads the gospel, or the creed has been prayed if it's a Sunday, the deacon is going to return to the ambo, and he leads the universal prayer, or we call the prayers of the faithful. And so the deacon, again, is going to intercede on behalf of the people. He's going to ask for God's help for the church, for the parish, for the sick, the elderly, government officials, the unborn, the dead, and so forth. So he's the one who is leading those universal prayers on behalf of the people who are seated in that congregation. So an interesting bit of trivia on that is that in the early church, it was always the job of the deacon to go out into the community and gather the petitions of the people and bring them back to church to read at Mass. So the deacon's job was to talk to the people in the parish. What are you struggling with? What are your needs? And he would bring those needs and struggles back in and pray them at that universal prayer, because our foot in the world gives us in a position, in a way, to know what the people are praying about and represent them at Mass. And in fact, it's really fitting for deacons to write the petitions at its parish. That's actually consistent with the early church. So in many parishes, the deacons actually write those prayers of the faithful, which has a rich history to it. So at the sign of peace, then, the deacon will invite the people to offer a sign of peace to one another. So it's always the deacon that faces the people and says, "Let us offer each other the sign of peace." And again, as a member of that community that has a foot in the world, the deacon is reminding the people to make peace with those who are seated around them. So it's symbolic of making peace with our friends and our family and our coworkers and our neighbors. And so it is the deacon who is going to request that people do that. And by the way, there's an interesting side note on this, and that is that if you look at the general instruction of the Roman Missal, it says that when the deacon requests for people to offer a sign of peace, it says you're supposed to turn to the person next to you and give them a simple sign of peace, which could be, a little hug or a shake of the hand. I always find it interesting, in some parishes, it just gets blown up, right?
Yeah.
You call for the sign of peace, and people are all, yucking it up and smacking each other on the back and waving and holding up peace signs, and that's not what it's intended to be. Right. The idea is it's supposed to be a simple sign of peace. Turn to the person next to you, shake their hand, move on. It's symbolic. But it's symbolic in as much as the deacon is calling that symbol as a member of the community with that foot in the world. And then lastly, at the end of Mass, the last thing the deacon always says is a dismissal, such as go and announce the gospel of the Lord. And it is the deacon then who is reminding the people that though the Mass has ended, their job has just begun. It's our responsibility to be a light to the rest of the world, like through our actions and our thoughts. So he is sending the people forth to live the Christian life. So it makes sense that one of the people who lives in that world would remind the others who live in that world to spread the gospel in their day jobs as well. So, it's not that a priest is disconnected with the real world. That's not true at all. But it's just that deacon is in a unique position because of the fact that we are so often husbands, fathers, day jobs, etc., that we're in a unique position to be able to represent the community at the liturgy. So if you watch the deacon carefully at Mass, you get a glimpse of who we're called to be and what we symbolize in the liturgy. So we illustrate to the people that we are servants, as we talked about last week, but at the same time we are speaking on behalf of the people as an intercessor who is pleading to God on the congregation's behalf. So there's symbolism both in what we do and in what we say.
I love that. Now, I'm thinking of everything you just said, and so much of it, Deacon Dan, is scripted, right? It's the same every single Sunday. It never occurred to me. I don't know why I never questioned it. Who writes the petitions? The deacon? I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but my goodness, how does that even begin to happen? I'm thinking that's more kind of universal. Those petitions are there. You pick from a set of petitions that you think are appropriate for the Sunday, or they're assigned to everyone. You're saying that is actually, in many cases, the assignment of the deacon.
Yeah, now there is kind of an art to doing that in as much as that there is a framework. So when you pray the petitions at Mass, usually the first one is going to be for either the Pope and or the Church in general, for right. Church leadership. There's almost always a petition near the end for those who are sick. And the last petition is usually for those who have died. So there's a little bit of a structure to it, if you will. There are a number of different resources out there, both online and paper form, that you can purchase, that have petitions for the week or whatever. But normally what it boils down to is kind of saying, okay, here are the general categories of what we generally pray for, but let's pay attention to what's actually going on. And so it's not only what's going on in the world, but it also might be going with what's going on liturgically. So like last weekend at Mass, we heard the Beatitudes. So it would make sense at Mass, at the petitions, to pray for those who are poor in spirit, or those right. who hunger and thirst, that kind of thing, and sort of tie it in liturgically to what the readings are. So there's a lot going on there, a lot more subtle than you would think when it comes to thinking about those petitions.
Boy, that's for sure, because, yeah, you're right. We don't, even though we're paying attention, there's a lot that we don't, you get like the backstory, the whole picture, which is very interesting. And as far as the closing dismissal, I know there's various forms of that. Do you have a particular favorite that you always use? Because I know some deacons use one and another deacon might use another one.
So the Roman Missal gives us 4 different things that we can say at the end of Mass. And in most cases, I will base it on what is going on liturgically that weekend. So, for example, if we're in the middle of Lent, when everything is called to be to be calm and simple. The most simple of the dismissals is go in peace. So I usually use that for daily Mass, and I'll use that during Lent. On a weekend like this, where we're proclaiming the 8 Beatitudes, Jesus is announcing the good news, so it makes sense to close Mass by saying, go and announce the gospel of the Lord. So it kind of depends on what the church season is or what's going on during that Mass.
I love it. Thank you, Deacon Dan.
Nicely done,
You're
Deacon
welcome.
Dan, as always. Coming in with a roar and always finishing strong as well. And, we don't set the ground real well for you ahead of time. So, I mean, you do that all on your own. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you guys know what a mail carrier's favorite herb is?
No.
Favorite herb?
Parcel E.
Where were you 12 minutes ago?